So my message is similar to Bruce's. It's like we can do what we can do to repair ourselves, absolutely, through a few different simple things, one of them being repetition. To repeat, to find a statement, find a mantra, find some kind of sentence that triggers you into a positive state.
Welcome to Get Pregnant Naturally, where functional medicine and natural fertility solutions will help you get pregnant and have your baby. Hey everyone, I'm Sarah Clark, and my mission is to inspire, motivate, and empower you. Most of all, I want you to wake up. So with functional medicine, we can discover what causes infertility and eventually reverse the condition. Today, I'm welcoming Elisabeth Manning to the podcast, and we're digging into how to connect with your baby's spirit. Elisabeth Manning is a certified spirit coach who sees and teaches about remembering the sacred in everyday living, especially fertility. Author of The Sacred Life of Fertility, emerging soon, her unique approach accelerates and aligns our soul with our purpose to spark our purest potential. Through positive health psychology and inner meditation journeys, Elisabeth is highly trained intuitive and works at the level of spirit and energy to heal hidden blocks and birth what wants to be born, whether a baby, business, or blessed life. It is by expanding from within into a life we love first that we become a magnet for our creations. Definitely check out her website at elisabethmanning.com. That's Elisabeth with an S. And before we jump into today's show, don't forget to hit the subscribe button on iTunes or wherever you're listening to this to make sure you never miss an episode. Hey, Elisabeth, excited to have you on the show.
Thank you, Sarah. I'm really happy to be here today.
Awesome. Yeah. So if you could share with us your journey and really how you came to do this really cool work that you do.
I would love to. So I got pretty much called to this work. I never would have chosen fertility as my go-to. So it was sort of kind of presented to me. And what happened was I was really at a bottom of my life where I was really pleading, literally pleading for divine guidance to guide me to a place of really calling it the highest service to humanity. And I literally called it that. Just show me how I can serve the highest good for humanity using my highest light and my gifts and my talents. I didn't even know what those gifts and talents were. And so I just claimed that prayer. And for a long time, I was really kind of wandering, stumbling around in the dark, like most of us do before we have a divine calling come to us. But I had a connection with a woman who was a doula, and I didn't know what a doula was. And she said that to me that she worked with a lot of IVF mamas, and I didn't know what IVF was. It was just coming out. It was almost 15 years ago. And it was just starting to sort of take off the concept of going to the IVF alternative route. And I was very, very curious about that. And around the same time, I was also questioning, whether to have children or not, and where is my husband if I'm to have children. And I was really just going through the whole washing machine of purification and cleansing and reorientation of what my life was all about. And so around that same time, I just started seeing with this conversation, I just witnessed myself with my interest peeking at how she was saying the IVF children were different. And I thought, well, of course they're different. They're wanted. They're desired. They've worked, their mamas have worked really hard to bring these children into the world. That was my first hit. And then she said something to me that was really interesting on a very energetic level. And that was, she said they often have a different kind of cry, that they cry differently. And I thought, what are you talking about? So yes, exactly. And I, you got to consider the source, right? I'm really I don't jump to conclusions very easily until I do my homework. And so I was asking her more questions, and she just very innocently was saying, well, she said, I just noticed that they calm down differently than other children. They calm down with specific things. And I was like, really? Tell me more. And she said, well, I take them outside and I take them into nature. And if that doesn't work, I hold them to my heart. So what calms them down is heart-to-heart contact. And I was like, oh, wow, that just hit something, some kind of chord in me. And I got to thinking more about the idea of conception outside of the body and outside of in a laboratory. And I thought, wow, that seems so strange to me, because she was saying the mamas were very stressed out when they were very stressed out when they were in the process of IVF, and I helped work with the mamas, and that really struck me. And it just like got me. It was like a tug on my heartstring that said something has to be done about working with mamas that are stressed out, who are trying to conceive the most precious thing in the world. Like, why would we do that to ourselves? We don't want to do that to ourselves. But it just got me. And I thought, somebody's got to do something. and I had no idea I wasn't certified yet as a spirit coach. I wasn't doing the energetic, subtle energy, intuitive work. But I was definitely drawn to how just kind of the kinesiology of things and how what the science is behind healing and love and prayer and positive thinking and mindset. And just then it led me to epigenetics and studying the science of how our environment can positively or negatively influence the cellular genetic makeup. And so I started talking about, the conception process of, kind of like what Bruce Lipton has talked about, right? Of the cellular, working with the environment. My hit was create a fertile environment in all areas, similar to the soil, what soil is in a garden to a seed. And I think our mistake often is we focus so much on the lack of a baby that we don't take the time to reframe it into how can I create a fertile environment for this seed, this intention, this baby? How can I fill my life again with things that I love, that are me, that speak to my soul? How can I fill my garden with these things and reduce the weeds of my life, the clutter, the toxic, ingredients of my life? How can I focus on those things and create more space for the conscious, intentional nurturing and of the sowing of this seed? And to me, focusing in that direction still gets, we're still looking at the same result, but we're doing it from a completely different approach. And that to me is much more fertile than working from a place of fear and lack and stress and forcing something, which is why it took me back to IVF, which felt forced to me.
Yeah.
And so it was an intuitive hit, like something needs to be done about creating a positive environment for this baby, especially with IVF. And then it just became more of an organic, natural approach to creating a positive environment for ourselves and mothering ourselves first, and doing the work, the inner work that is required anyway. If you don't do it now, you're going to have to do it anyway when you have a child, because it's going to come up. Your stuff comes up.
Slapped in your face. Yeah,
exactly. But the conscious preparation of the soil feels like a very beautiful, nurturing time for the mother, because you're never going to have that time again to nurture yourself, to mother yourself, to bring out that inner child within yourself, to heal those parts of you that didn't get what she needed when she was growing up. And to heal that is to create that fertile environment. So that's where it got me, and this is what I've been doing since, full time. And I love what I do very much.
Yeah, I love that. Mothering ourselves, right? So important.
Yes, it is.
Yeah. And so you mentioned Bruce Lipton. Can you share a little bit more about him and the epigenetics and kind of the importance of that?
Oh yeah, I did a summit back in 2015, and he came on my show. I got to interview him again because I pinned him down back in, I think it was 2012 or 10, somewhere in there. I saw him speak in Palo Alto, California. I'm from the Bay Area, and so he was speaking near me. He actually lives near me in Santa Cruz. But I pinned him down at one of his talks, and I cornered him and said, all right, I've got this thing that I can't let go of, or it won't let go of me. And it's about conscious conception. And it's about creating that environment for, the mother in a safe environment. By then I had done my homework on the cells of single cell of an organism, and that it will not reproduce itself if it doesn't feel safe. If it doesn't feel like it's conducive to a life affirming environment, the cells will not reproduce. And since we are a single body, organism in our physical being, we can mimic the same behavior as that. And so I basically was talking to him about that. And I said, tell me, am I on to something here, or am I just crazy? And because nobody at that point was doing any work around conscious conception. And the only thing that when I Googled it, Jeannie Parvati Baker's book came up, but I did not read her book on purpose because I knew I needed to channel or bring through whatever was coming through me without influence. I didn't want to taint it with someone else and keep their work in their integrity and keep my own in my integrity. Mm-hmm. So I brought it up to Bruce, though, because I really needed the science. I'm a science girl, and I needed the backup of science. And I feel like we're entering into an age right now where spirituality is actually based into the scientific approach, yes, where we're really linking up. And the study of science is really the study of truth. It's the study of knowing. And instead of belief, it's coming into the knowing of ourselves and our spiritual life and our sense of who we are and what we are here to contribute in the world. So he was saying that, he basically said, here's my cell phone, call me, and I'm going to send you some research. You're absolutely on to something here. You need to keep going with it. And I'm going to get you on the phone so I can describe a little more about it. So we called him after the talk. He was driving back home. I called him right away, and he sent me the research behind what it means to have perfect circumstances and conditions coming all from different angles at the right time, perfectly set up for the time of conception. And he said it's very circumstantial, as well as there's this divine element to it, an unspeakable, hidden something that is the ordination of life itself. And we have some degree of control, but we also have no control over the ultimate. And what we need to do is find that perfect balance. So it's a container of setting intention, at the same time surrendering and allowing. And so he was just describing basically what I felt like I knew intuitively, but I needed him. I needed some science to tell me, to validate what I felt like I already knew. And I think what's true for many people listening is that they also feel it. They also understand. We live in pretty toxic times in this day and age. This modern world is very heavy laden with a lot of outer stimuli, a lot of stuff, a lot of clutter. And if we don't slow that down to get back in touch with our bodies, because most of us don't live in our bodies anymore. We're off somewhere else. We're removed. We're numbing out. We're distracting. If we can come back to ourselves first, that is creating that container. And what Bruce was saying was the cells have got to feel safe. That every cell in our bodies, if we are overstimulated, distracted, not present, not taking up space in our bodies, which is really the first step, we are not allowing the body to do what it was designed to do. And we're overriding it with our minds, which our minds are not the things that do the creating in the first place. They actually get in the way. So what we need to do is figure out a way for us, a creative, playful way to bring our minds to a place of perception that even moves us beyond positive belief and back into the knowing of who we are as divine beings, who we are as conscious co-creators of our reality, who we are as human souls. And if a soul is fractured, it is going to walk the planet in a broken body, perceivably, that nothing good can come, I'm not safe, I've been traumatized. And those kinds of perceptions can really color what we do in our daily life. So my message is similar to Bruce's. It's like we can do what we can do to repair ourselves, absolutely, through a few different simple things, one of them being repetition. To repeat, to find a statement, find a mantra, find some kind of sentence that triggers you into a positive state of beingness. A chant, a song, a prayer, a poem, something simple though, something that you can memorize. And my beginning of transforming my life from lack to abundance, it was the simple statement of all my needs are met. All my needs are met. The universe has my back. All my needs are met. And so it's simple. It might be trite to some, but when I actually say it to myself, when I don't feel safe, when I don't feel quite myself yet, when I feel off, when I feel like I need help, if I just say that to myself, all my needs are met, it hooks me back up again on a vertical level to something higher than myself. And if that doesn't work, I just stop and I breathe and I say, help me. I can't, but you can. I can't do this right now, but you can. Help me. So, there are times of true despair going on right now in this world. And we're entering into a time of potentially very, kind of insanity. We can look around in our world and see it on the news, but we need to be really, really, really mindful now. It's like those who are ready to awaken are awakening by the droves. We are waking up. We are lighting each other's torches. We are igniting that which was ready to ignite. So we can be thankful for the beings out there who are the crazy makers for that at least. And just say, okay, your purpose is to awaken people. But we can take that to the next level and use it to go inward, not outward anymore. Don't look outward for your sanity. You won't find it. Don't look outward for your salvation. You won't find it. Don't look outward for what will make you happy. You won't find it. And I even say that with great risk of being ostracized for it, but you won't even find it in a baby, because there is no guarantee that you will find happiness after you have a child. We think it will bring us happiness, so we reach for it. But the thing that can bring you true satisfaction is if you look inward and you know who you are and why you want to bring a baby into the world, with eyes wide open, knowing the world that you are about to bring it into is not exactly sane right now, and willing to take that risk to create the fertile environment for that child, to protect that child, to nourish that child. Start with yourself first. And that calms the soul down. It repairs the broken heart. It repairs the soul on so many levels. And if we can do that just on an individual level, one by one, the world starts to heal. We heal it by healing ourselves first. And that creates the fertile environment that creates a body that is safe. Because there might be a subtle unconscious thing going on that this world is not a safe place. My clients have come to that several times over and over again. They didn't even know they were carrying it.
Yep, same here.
And that yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. So anyway, yes.
I love that. I was with you. And I like I like your mantra there. So all my needs are met, which is
All
sort of
my needs are met.
yeah, the foundation of everything, kind of that, as you say, that safe space. And then I like when you were talking about the balance, sort of the intention was surrender. So it's not just like we're lying here and saying we're just letting go and we're surrendering. There is actually an intention we're setting, but then we're surrendering that piece,
Absolutely.
the balance back and forth.
Yes, intention, I often talk about this being, it's like an arrow. It's like an arrow to your baby bullseye you're trying to shoot for. When we think we're doing the right things, we're eating the right foods, we're taking the medications, we're seeing the doctors, practitioners, acupuncturists, all the coaches, everything, we're reading up, we're devouring all the materials, and nothing's happening. That's where I caution and invite people to remember that anything outside of yourself is helpful to a point, but you're only gathering information. It's when we internalize and we actually go inward, where we take it to another level. We take our intuitive knowing to another level, and we aim to that bullseye with a clear and knowing intention. So we work through then all of our limiting beliefs. We look at our beliefs. We ask ourselves, why? Why do I want a baby? Why? What is my why? And then when we feel lost, we can remember our why, and how can I nurture this why in other ways? I want a baby because it will bring me a feeling of, it'll give me the experience of, it'll let me serve in a way that, brings out my gifts and my talents and my love, and everything that I love about a baby is innocence, curiosity, playfulness, purity. How can I nourish those qualities in myself right now to help me feel connected to this goal? So these are little things called intention. We say we set the intention, but what is intention, really? So get really focused on understanding, become a student of fertility itself. What is fertility, really? What is creation? Who does the creating? Is my container cleared out for the creation of this precious, precious seed? What inside of me is blocking love? What is blocking truth? What is blocking me from feeling like I'm worthy? Whatever is leaking your energy, look at that. Plug up those holes first. Make sure you empty out all of the old, I can talk about energy, but it's actually just old past issues that sometimes we live in today. We actually forget to unhook ourselves from the past, so we carry it into tomorrow. Try not to do that. Try to be fresh. Nourish this moment. Live as if you're today, and the choices you make today create your tomorrow, because they do. What we choose today feeds our tomorrow. Are we really conscious about what we're choosing? The words we speak? Are we realizing that our words are creations? Can we speak kindly to our bodies, our partners, in a time of hardship? So these are the things that, when I speak of intention and ask my students to become students of intention, students of fertility, study what makes you feel connected to a child. And that will heal the parts of you that feel disconnected from it or feel like you're missing out. If you can find a way to connect, that will help heal. what is causing you to feel separate. I know it sounds simple, but try it. Try the idea of connecting. And invite yourself to look at what you feel disconnected from and why. And how else, what are the other ways that we can nourish that disconnect? How can we heal that? So, yeah, it's a self-study for sure. It's a self-inquiry journey. It's an inner journey of the soul for sure.
Mm-hmm. And you also share sort of through the struggle is how we align with the universe. How does that reflect for someone on the fertility journey? A lot of times it's framed as, I'm struggling with infertility. And I was at a Gabrielle Bernstein, I've shared this before on the podcast. I was at a Gabrielle Bernstein talk, and someone got up and shared they were struggling with infertility. She's like, stop right now. Mm-hmm. The soul of your baby is waiting for you. And to reframe the struggle that you're on the journey, and there's more, as you say, a container, more things to do in your container, or whatever it is to have to make mm-hmm. to allow the soul to come in, which can seem kind of foreign to people if you're that type A, push, let it go. You got the intention part, but the surrender, not so much.
Not so much. Yeah, that's a really great question, Sarah. And it's not an easy one. But one thing we can be sure of is struggle is pretty universal. And there is no guarantee in this humanity existence that we will live without struggle. So it's part of the human condition. We are going to struggle in this life. But if you take it to the fundamental, foundational essence of struggle, what does it do for us? Break it down and feel into struggle. A baby and a mother, when a mother gives birth to a baby, there is struggle. But that baby is pushing itself, fighting its way into a new reality. It's birthing itself through struggle. It recognizes its strength. It finds its way eventually. It does. And the mother has a role to play in that, of course. There's the combination of, and this is where I get all of my downloads come from pre-existing issues, like study nature for your answers, study fertility, study what is, the balance of divine human. What does that mean? What does it mean to be of the earth and of heaven and the elements themselves? How does that relate to me? And nature struggles all the time. It's a part of it. But what comes after that is the blossom and the fruit. It struggles at first to push through that dark earth toward the light. It always reaches for the light. A birth situation, mama and child. The mother, though, is in a position where she does best with birth when she is not in fear. Fear causes pain. So struggle then, if we associate struggle with fear, we are living in a state of lack. We're also living in the dark. We're also experiencing probably a lot of pain. But if we can reframe the word struggle and look at it as a part of things, we start to move into acceptance. Acceptance relieves a lot of pain, a lot. Acceptance moves us into surrender automatically. And a way to move into surrender, though, kind of ironically, is there's a time where nature wants you to push. Nature and creator, God, the divine, push against that rock. Push against that rock as hard as you can. Give it everything you've got. Do not try to cut corners. Do not give up. Do not think that you can't do it. Keep going. Keep pushing. Push against the rock. Eventually, because your muscles are developing, you are growing stronger. You're not only growing stronger physically, you're growing stronger in your soul and in your mind. And you are determined. You move from disbelief to belief to knowing. I've got this. I'm going to get this. I am pushing. And eventually what happens is that rock moves because you have gotten strong enough. And at that point, though, what's the greater reward? What's behind the rock, or how you've developed yourself in the process? Who you've become in the process? And that's why it's so beautiful to say, you are becoming the mother that is worthy of this soul that is coming to you. Like, on so many levels, there is a divine dance that is happening with the soul that is waiting for you, that is assigned to you, that you basically made a soul agreement with before you even entered into this planet. And some part of you knows that if you can reframe your journey from not want to struggle, or if it is struggle, learn how to embrace the struggle. Learn how to embrace it and let it work for you rather than against you. As you reframe your journey, you rewrite the script of your own destiny, and you are developing yourself to become the mother that basically is needed for this child and the future of this world that we're in right now. Modern times requires a new level of soul awareness and determination and strength and fortitude. Are you not learning all these things right now in your journey? Are you not allowing these things to become your school of life? To develop a higher humanity is to understand that this is a journey of the soul, not of the physical body. And I believe that the souls that come to me, they are incredibly high-level souls that just don't recognize themselves yet. They can't quite see it yet, the light that they carry. And they want so desperately to find some light in this world. They're not going to find it in this world. That's why they want to birth a child, because that is their light. That is their, it feels like salvation to them, feels like home. But it's not even that. They're looking for something else and more. And the journey to the baby is only part of the story. So when we come to a journey of birthing ourselves first, birthing the light within us first, the baby tends to come pretty naturally after that. It's a strange door that opens inside of us, the journey to that divine source that can bring us a child. If we seek that first, opening all doors within us to that, yes, that divine download, it fertilizes everything else. And it brings to life everything that we were meant to birth without effort. And it's not always guaranteed. I've had clients figure out that they actually didn't want a child, that secretly they would rather adopt, or they would rather start their own business and help others on their journey. Some have come to those conclusions, and they come to them without pain. It just dawns on them because they've touched something else. They've birthed that light, their soul purpose. And the baby, whatever guide soul is waiting for them on the other side, they have, at this point, kind of become like a spirit guide for us. And if we can look at it like that, I find it to be very comforting when I've had a client reach to their child and say, what would you have me do in this moment? And they get an answer back. They get some intuitive guidance back, and they do it, and then they feel better. And there's a connection that when we feel good, when we feel strong and calm inside of ourselves, that door I was talking about, that's an open door inside. Fearless, knowing, the sense of love, the sense of a presence within us that is filling us instead of depleting us. These are all sensations that speak of the spiritual experience, if that makes sense. Oh, I hope it does.
Oh, I love it. Yeah. And so if someone's feeling stuck and they can't even they can't even visualize themselves pregnant or the baby. Like, how do
Mm-hmm.
they open up the space where they are right now? We talked about mothering yourself and some of those tips that you've talked about to feel less distracted and feel more safe. Is there, what can we dig into that, opening the space?
Gosh, that is a good one. When we are in that dark hole, it is, it's very, very hard to climb out of it. And at that point, I would say, don't take another class. Don't hire a coach at that point, because you're not going to be as receptive and ready to take those quantum leaps that are possible when we are ready for them. But when you're in that stuck spot, if you can just do something that is kind to yourself, something good, something that you know you need to do for yourself, if you can just do those things, it is a step, it is a rope that can pull us out of that hole, one step at a time, one choice at a time, little by little, in very gentle increments. Some little thing. I don't care if it's drinking an extra glass of water a day, or putting a drop of lavender oil on yourself and just smelling it, to rekindle what it feels like to actually have a moment of reprieve. These are dark moments that I'm talking about, really deep depression after miscarriage or after loss.
Yep.
But in those times, if you're in a grieving time, then give yourself space to grieve. Just give yourself space to grieve. Do not put any demands on yourself. Take the time to be with what is. And I may, if I may, sit and just, my big go-to is meditation. But if our minds are so loud, it's really hard to sit still in meditation. So in those moments, I would just say, sit in your garden. Sit in your garden and breathe the fresh air. When it's raining, feel the rain on your face to remind yourself that you're alive. Come back to your body. Feel the earth under your feet. Look to the sun. Let the sun shine on your face. At night, if you can't sleep, go outside and let the moon bathe you in its blueness and in its mystical kind of way. It can wrap you in its light. Just do something that can bring you back to feel like yourself again, and get creative with it. It's what speaks to you. It's your language. What can bring you to life? And it is that question, how can I come back to life? Forget about the baby at this point. Come back to you. The way to baby will come as a result of you coming back to you. We often reach for the baby because we don't feel like we're comfortable enough with ourselves first. So it's always a good test to check in with ourselves. Am I happy with me? Am I happy with who I am? How am I going to raise a child that loves themselves if I can't love myself? So find a way to come back to love. Love is the key. Love is what will heal. Love is the answer to that question. But we have to do it in a way that speaks the language of our own love, our love language, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah. Sounds simple, but when we're in that space, it is not easy.
Being able to, mother ourselves and show ourselves some compassion and
acceptance. And if in that moment you're like, well, what if I'm not in that dark of a hole? What if I'm just feeling blah and I can't connect to my baby, or I can't visualize it? That's okay. You can still do things like write a letter to your baby. I'm going to say, give yourself stretch marks on the inside, spiritual, soulful, heartfelt, mindset stretch marks. If you really, really are interested in making a connection and doing better with your journey, you got to push yourself a little bit. But you got to push yourself when you're ready. And then the stretch marks come. Make room by consciously doing something that's a little different than what you've done before. something that brings you closer to your goal. So fear will not bring you closer to your goal. Self-hatred, self-loathing, beating your body up emotionally, that will not help you either. So stop and interrupt that pattern. If it's a pattern, interrupt the pattern, do something different. And you can revert back to the thing I said before, essential oils that help, or something to get you back in your body to feel safe. But then we can start actually doing the work. We can actually start stretching ourselves. So write a letter to your baby. Write a letter to your womb. Start to channel some higher part of yourself. You'll be very surprised when you do, because it's actually not the mind that's writing the letter. It's something else. And if you need help with that, just make an agreement with yourself. I am open. I am ready to access a higher part of myself to write this letter. Right? Let the right words come through me that feel like I am stretching myself into a higher version of myself. Let me connect with my baby now. And just start writing. Let it be it's called free writing. It's also called, it's a flow that is unedited. You do not interrupt yourself. You basically don't even take your pen off the page. And you don't stop to think about what you're writing. You don't judge it. You don't be the critic. You get the critic out of the way and you just write what comes. And sometimes I'll even have stuff that comes through that is way beyond what I ever would have come up with on my own. So I know it was higher than me that was coming through, but it was because I got out of the way consciously. I made the decision I was going to do this and show up. And something else showed up on the page and it surprised me. So I'm just saying, you practice it. It's a little awkward, uncomfortable at first, but the more you do it, the more comfortable you feel. The more comfortable you feel, the less fear you feel. The less fear you feel, the more can come through the heart. And it's rich and it's full of information and guidance. And you're either channeling your baby or you're channeling your higher self. And you can decide which one you want to channel, but does it matter at this point? It's like, it's higher information and it's very comforting and enlightening too. It builds a confidence in your trust in yourself and your ability to access a connection that you didn't even know you had. So trying that, for example, little things like put a little hair clip in your hair that reminds you of a child, like a little baby hair clip. Do something little like that gets you in touch with a inner child feeling. Nourish that part of yourself. Color with crayons, because it gets us out of our adult analytical head and gets us back into the creative, intuitive, inner child that's just dying to come out at times. So play with her now. Don't wait for your child to come. Play with her now and just notice a difference. Notice how it makes you feel. Notice if it makes you feel a little more connected to the child that's waiting to come through you. And that connection is what opens the door. That is the door. Connection is an open door. And it creates a flow. It creates an exchange of energy. And to answer your question about being blocked, if you feel blocked, find a way to connect, whether it's to yourself, to God, to nature, or to your baby, or to your partner. Connection is the key. And I was saying earlier, love is the answer to that question. It truly is, but connection is the key to open the door to love, right? Just reach out for some kind of connection, whichever way works for you.
Mm-hmm. And some of the writing sorry, go ahead.
Oh no, that's my magic word is connection.
Yeah, I love that.
What were you saying, Sarah? Sorry.
From The Artist's Way. I think it's Julia, and she talks about, I can't remember her last name right now, but it's in the morning where you kind of do that data.
Cameron.
Yeah, and it's like free flowing of
Mm-hmm.
writing. You're not editing. You're just getting it out on paper. Also the Clarity Cleanse, and I can't remember the name of the author of that one, but he talks about like writing for 12 minutes and then you actually burn it at the end of it as an offering.
Exactly. And that actually translates to what I do in the inner meditation journeys. We do I do a monthly creation space meditation. It's formerly called Baby Spirit. But what we did, the first half of the meditation was all about the brain dump. It was all about getting rid of the clashing mind chatter that gets in the way of us really being able to sit in that receptive, divine feminine stillness space of listening. Listening is really important in this journey, and listening to ourselves and our own intuition and our bodies and our spiritual guidance can only come from that place of stillness. But it takes a long time often to get to that place of stillness. So this journey of half of the meditations, what takes up half of the whole time that we're in class is the brain dump, the clearing of the mind. So yes, I'm just talking, I'm validating the writing is very similar. It's just get the chatter out, clear the space. The mind closes and locks and blocks the doors. So we can learn how to do that, how to make it better for ourselves. But we just have to start making that attempt and understanding that everything we need is on the other side of that. Everything we need. And I say we can find it in meditation a lot faster than anything else I've tried, because you're accessing the actual source of what can bring you everything on this earth. You're actually opening yourself up to channeling that vibration, that frequency, that light, whatever you want to call it, higher consciousness, spiritual advancement, many different ways of describing it. But to me, it's like moving up the ladder of awareness, starting at the bottom, which is the mud and the muck and the heaviness of this world. If we sit up at the very top, I call it the penthouse of our, it's like our bodies are like a high-rise building, and we're moving through chakras. Chakras are like realities, or ways we perceive the world, but it also how we experience our emotions and our reality and the stories we tell ourselves. But when we sit at the top, in the penthouse, and we sit in meditation in a certain kind of way where we're really receptive to this vast space inside of ourselves, after the clearing or the brain dump, we are in bliss. We are literally receiving our connection. Many masters call it merging with God. In that space, we literally are not missing anything on earth. Our needs are met. We have intuitive information on how to handle situations back on earth that confused us or overwhelmed us or made us sad or go into reaction. This earth we live on is a cause and effect reality. And when we sit up in spirit and we actually use tools to be able to affect our reality, we take out the equation of reaction. We are no longer in reaction, and we are just in creation. We cannot be in creation if we are reacting all the time. So we learn these advanced spiritual tools in these meditation journeys to be able to know what it is to actually be a conscious co-creator of our reality, and to do what we can do to do the clearing work, to actually know how to do it. It's not just a concept, it's a way of life. Mm-hmm. So yeah, that's where I come from. I mean, that's just my background anyway, but I've found that for the realm of fertility, and I'm not just a coach for fertility either, I'm just conscious creation really, and yet the fertile way of living becomes more fulfilling. That when the baby comes, it's like a natural thing. It's like, of course the baby's going to come. The space is cleared for it. And even if it doesn't, I'm going to be okay. I'm at that place where I really know I'm going to be okay. And I'm creating so many other things that my life is full. And I'm serving in a way that I know my soul is living its purpose, So it's just it's a path of learning how to eliminate suffering and to move into a conscious co-creative reality.
And then, so you've talked about sort of how we mother ourselves and keep that safe space. And then anything else about connecting with our baby spirit or calling in the baby? Anything else?
Well, I can tell you in my experience that the main thing that keeps the spirit, even if we feel like a spirit's not around us, it actually is. And what eliminates it, or not eliminate it, what eliminates our awareness, what dilutes our awareness of the presence of a baby spirit is fear, worry, and doubt. Those are the three main things. And we can associate fear to money, but it's still fear. We can associate fear to our housing situation. It's still fear, even if it's not related to a baby. If we have a fear around a baby, then the baby's presence will evade us because it's like a wall that goes up. And so work with love, work with creating a safe environment, and you automatically become a magnet for your baby. You automatically draw that energy to you. If you just imagine the qualities that make up a baby, just make a list, journal about the joyful qualities of a child. If you do that, you're automatically drawing your child to you. But when you focus on maybe not your child, but children in general and why you love them, you'll start to rekindle that joy again in yourself. And when you nurture that joy and fondness and that spark again inside of yourself, the babies are drawn to that spark. They're just drawn. That spark becomes a doorway. And what I liken it to is I see in pictures when I'm working with clients, I'll see kind of the energy that they bring in. And I often see that when they're in that space of warm, loving, kind of appreciation, gentle curiosity, wonder, whatever those qualities are of a child, and they focus on that, what happens is there's a door that opens inside of them. And I see what's similar to a drop from an ocean and the ocean itself. And the baby spirit is in the ocean. It's not in the drop. You're like a drop in the ocean that has extracted itself from the ocean to experience what it's like to be separate on this earth. It's kind of the adventure of the drop here on earth. And we spend our whole lifetime trying to remember what it's like to be part of the ocean. And we forget that we've got that whole ingredient map inside of us. We've got the ocean inside of us. And when we remember that space inside of us, when we remember those qualities of a child, the reasons why we want a child in the first place, what we appreciate about parenthood and what we kind of think our life will be as a parent, we start building a bridge inside of ourselves. We build that bridge and a door opens. And it's like the ocean fills our whole drop. And we remember what it feels like to be filled with this vast, expansive, eternal presence of life itself. If you want to call it divine, you can call it divine, the universe. But the truth of the experience is not to be talked about or read about. You can't just talk about it. It needs to be experienced. Spiritual, matters. Soul matters. Heart matters. They all have to be felt. And so giving yourself the space to be able to just sit with just pondering what it would be like to have a journey that is filled with love and filled with a welcoming invitation to a child. That warm feeling of love toward a child, it becomes this growing light that builds inside of you. Just think of it, love as light. And every time you feel love, you spark a little bit more. You shine a little bit more on the inside. I had a baby, a story once come through that I've had several after my clients have had baby spirit experiences, and then they journal about it. And then they go back and remember, and they reread it. These experiences have actually come true about the children. Like we ask in the baby spirit meditations, we ask, what are the qualities of this child? What will they love to play with? What is their favorite color? What's their favorite food? When are they going to come through? Things that are kind of bold to ask. If they're brave enough, they'll ask them. If they feel comfortable or safe enough, they'll ask them. And then they write them down, and these things have come true. Mm. A lot of them have actually come to fruition. And so it depends on how clear, how trusting a soul is of themselves and the information they get, of course. Don't doubt yourself. Every little intuitive hit is worthy of your attention. Mm-hmm. Pay attention to what you see in your meditations and what you hear and what you feel. But I had a child say, "Mommy, I knew I was supposed to come to you. I knew I was supposed to find you." And the mom said, "Well, why is that, honey? How did you find me?" And the child said, "Well, I looked down at earth and I saw all these hearts, and your heart was the brightest, Mommy. Your heart was the brightest. And that's how I knew I had to come to you." So this is the language of about a 2-year-old who knew how to find their mommy through how the bright the heart shined.
Well, now I'm crying. Okay.
And I'm just saying, don't give up. Just learn to love, even when you're in fear, even when you have hard times. Learn to come back to yourself and learn to love, because that is the brightest light that will attract your baby to you more than anything else.
That's beautiful. Yeah. And okay, so you have a free preview of your book coming out in the spring of 2019, and it's the Sacred Life of Fertility. And,
it is.
Yeah. And they can go to, I know, so they can go to Elisabeth Manning, Elisabeth with an S, Manning with 2 N's.com/book. And I'll have the notes in the link in the show notes. Maybe, share with our audience what they can expect with the preview of the book, and
Thank you. Well, it's more of what you heard in this podcast. It's a kind of a build up. It moves without really understanding. I don't write about this, but it actually moves through the chakras. The book actually moves through from the physical. It moves from the body into the heart, basically the heart space, and then up into the spiritual realm of connection of fertility. And this, I talk about the sacred life of fertility because there's an energetic component that not many people talk about in depth. And because I have had 14 years of subtle energy training and really making it my business to study fertility as an energy, as an essence, I've been able to, create this foundation, this model, if you will, of understanding how to connect the dots to a fertile life, to why a fertile life is even important, or why should I even consider it? How is it going to get me a baby? But really what it does is help you with tools to be able to connect those dots, to eliminate the fears, to open your heart again, to have a spiritual connection. There's even a section in there about how to make IVF sacred, which someday will be a class probably on that as I hear about if people are interested in doing something like that. I'm getting more people that are doing IVF, and so it makes sense to actually kind of start something on that. So I put a section in the book on that because it's important. It's extremely important to realize and recognize that your doctor matters. I mean, how you connect with your IVF journey matters. It's very important that you are at peace with the way you're going about it, because it affects your body. It's a subtle, subconscious, intuitive thing, but I'm here to validate that in people in the book. And then we go into conscious connection with the spirit of your child and calling in the child. And so, yeah, it takes you through a journey of a sacred spiritual connection with your fertility. Yeah.
Beautiful. Yeah. So definitely check out the link in the show notes for that. And thanks so much for coming on the podcast today. This was, I was like sort of transfixed or immersed in everything you were saying. And it was just so beautiful with sort of some practical tips as well as just, the whole love and connection piece that you're talking about in that safe space and mothering ourselves. So thank you so much for coming on and sharing your words of wisdom.
Thank you, Sarah. I'm really honored to be here. I really appreciate you for everything. Thank you.
Thank you. Hey there, Sarah Clark here. So are you struggling to have your baby? First of all, please know that my heart goes out to you. I support couples worldwide who are struggling with infertility to conceive and have healthy babies. Women like Rita, who gave birth to her beautiful daughter after following my fertility coaching system. Or Danielle, who after 2 failed IUIs was able to get pregnant after a supercharger fertility discovery call with me. So here's how you get my help for free. So I offer a free supercharger fertility discovery call. And on that call, I'll create a plan with you that is going to help you fast track your success. So this call is not for everyone. And I'm really picky about who I get to speak with. And I have a strict but totally reasonable criteria that needs to be met in order for us to move forward. So here's who I can help. So first of all, you need to be able to explore your infertility diagnosis in a new light. So this offers for people who are open-minded, they're coachable, and if you can do that and want to double or triple your chances at the fertility clinic or get pregnant, awesome. So let's get on the phone and chat. Also, you must be an action taker. So someone who's committed to seeing results, you're able to follow directions. Don't worry, I'm not going to ask you to do anything bizarre. But if you're one of those people who like to consume a ton of information, but don't like to spend time implementing and seeing results, then the call's not really for you. So I only want to spend time with people who are genuinely committed to their own success. So just click on the link in the show notes and apply, or go to fabfertile.com and click on the free consult. So it's a really short application that just tells me about your health, how long you've been trying to conceive, and how soon you'd like to be pregnant. So seriously, this is going to be the best time you've ever spent on your fertility. Looking forward to chatting. Talk soon. Thank you for listening to Get Pregnant Naturally. Seriously, it means the world to me that you're here. Make sure you hit the subscribe button so you can be notified of upcoming episodes. I'm excited to offer you a special gift. If you're a U.S. resident, text FERTILE to 345-345. You'll be prompted to enter your email address and you'll receive our fertility yoga download. In this 20-minute intro video, we focus on a calming and peaceful practice to connect back to your heart. These simple fertility yoga poses can help quiet negative thoughts and make you feel more in control. Download it now and get started today. So for U.S. residents, text FERTILE, FERTILE, to 345-345. For non-U.S. residents, go to www.yogafreebie.com to access your special gift. That's www.yogafreebie.com to access the free fertility yoga download. And I love this quote by Dr. Mark Hyman, medical director of the Cleveland Clinic Center for Functional Medicine and chairman of the Institute for Functional Medicine. Functional medicine is medicine by cause, not by symptom. Functional medicine practitioners don't in fact treat disease. We treat your body's ecosystem. We get rid of the bad stuff, put in the good stuff, and because your body is an intelligent system, it does the rest. Thanks for listening. Until next time.